I have a love-hate relationship with the MCU. I like a lot of the stuff, but I'm starting to slowly but surely feel like everything since Falcon and the Winter Soldier has kind of been a pointless waste of time. It feels like with the advent of Disney Plus, everything is just getting too fatigued to a point where nothing matters anymore. They're just making content for you to watch and forget about. There's no more, I guess, underlying continuity that they're worried about, which was the whole point of creating the MCU. But more importantly, it feels like they have forgotten their way. That they're forgetting who the fan base is that they cater to. Let's be honest. The majority of the MCU Marvel fans are males. Demographic, middle-aged. There's a lot of children, though, and there's a lot of females, and that's fine and dandy. I'm not going to be one of those gatekeepers who's like, oh, females aren't allowed to like comics or like the MCU and stuff like that. And of course we know children have always been a huge component to the success of toy sales and stuff like that. But for the most part, I think the MCU has done all right. Everything up to Endgame was just muy magnifique. But then something happened. Pandemic happened, Disney Plus happened, and then we started to get an influx of shows. It seems like every couple months we get a brand new show, and we've had some bangers. I personally liked Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I liked Low-Key. Moon Knight was okay. I mean, What If? It was a lot of fun. But we just recently had a couple of new shows and new movies in recent light that just kind of... I feel that each director and writer is more worried about putting some kind of purpose or political commentary or some kind of like feminism message on top of what, the MCU is supposed to be. It's fine and dandy to have some kind of creative outlet to stand up for stuff that you believe in and stuff. But there's times where it just totally negates what the major story is supposed to be. And that's a comic book movie that we get to sit down, be entertained by, and forget about real life world troubles. Now, She-Hulk just had its finale. I was going to do my thoughts on it. I guess I'll combine that with today's video in regards to how I feel about the series, because the article that I just saw today totally justifies my thoughts and my feeling of She-Hulk. So we're going to read this. This article says that the She-Hulk creators admit that the MCU show was just trolling the fans. And here's the problem, is they're trolling the fans because I guess they're hearing and seeing a lot of the response to people complaining about it being the MCU now. We got Lady Thor, we have She-Hulk, we had an emphasis on Black Widow and Yelena and Ms. Marvel and Captain Marvel and Wanda. It seems like the MCU is becoming a real thing. There's nothing wrong with having strong female characters. And when you thought She-Hulk was coming out, you thought it was going to be a strong female character. I was intrigued. The first episode I felt was a lot of fun. She got to interact with her cousin Bruce, but then in the episode itself, it kind of devolved into what the MCU is starting to become, and that's that men are useless idiots that are only good for eye candy. And that's basically what Thor Love and Thunder did. They reduced Thor to eye candy. They reduced him to being a dumb blonde and just kind of being arrogant and full of himself. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, that's how gods feel and stuff like that. But if you follow the redemption arc of Thor from the first movie, the first Avengers, and all the way to Endgame, he kind of had a redemption arc where he became a strong heir to his father's throne. Especially in fucking Thor Ragnarok. Like, he fucking... Man, that scene where he gets all electric and does the immigrant song and just destroys everything was fucking fantastic. But then in Love and Thunder, he's like a complete shell of himself. I have no clue. It almost seems like they're reducing a lot of characters that are male. Like Hulk, for example, in the first episode of She-Hulk, they reduced him to comedy fodder and then he disappeared, right? Daredevil makes cameos in this, and it seems like all Daredevil was in She-Hulk was for She-Hulk to fuck. Like that's the only point he was in the whole series, was for them to meet up and hook up and fuck. So She-Hulk had a cool, interesting premise, an attorney for superheroes that needed, criminal defense. The first episode or two kind of had some fun with it, but then stuff just started to get weird and wild, and I didn't mind some of the characters that they introduced. They introduced like a whole bunch of like lower level, I guess, comic book characters from the Marvel series, but ultimately with the finale, it just changed. Like, it was cool that it broke the fourth wall a lot because the comic books do, and in the season finale, she broke Disney Plus panel and went to a different show to confront the writers and called them out, and there was a Kevin AI bot that makes the MCU and stuff. That was all cool and dandy, but it basically negated everything from the 8 other episodes that were in the season, and there was no stakes, there was no true clear-cut villain, there was no plot points that meant anything. Like, it literally felt like they just did this show to do the show, and a lot of times it was a lot of passive aggressiveness, trolling, I guess, male viewers and male fans of the MCU, which, back to this article, I want to say is, they're admitting that they did the show purposely like that to troll the fans. I have no idea what their statement was. Instead of actually making She-Hulk a strong, powerful character that complements somebody like Daredevil or Wong or whoever, they had to make it a show about trolling the fans, which is just a waste of time in my opinion. So, taking a look at this article, that says, with its fourth wall breaching and self-referential Marvel humor, She-Hulk was always going to be a meta show, but it took a mean-spirited turn that the creators now admit was trolling longtime fans in anticipation that they would hate the show. So, you're making this show, you're writing it ahead of time, and you're thinking, oh man, people are going to hate this show, so let's just purposely make them hate it? What a waste of fucking money and time. We could have had something more, I guess, on the lines of like a Low-Key or even a Moon Knight or something that would creatively do something different and make people enjoy it. Like Werewolf by Night was fucking fantastic. But to make the series goal of She-Hulk to troll the male demographic is fucking ass. That's terrible and a wrong route to go in the entertainment industry. You're going to alienate your fans by doing this. Anyways, to continue, it says, as writer Jessica Gao explained in a recent interview with Variety, we were able to predict what the reaction was going to be. What a lot of the trolling comments were going to be really shows how very tired and unoriginal these trolls are. That really tickled me because the little troll that lives inside of me really loves trolling the trolls. So she, the creator, the writer, said, oh, we predicted that they would, like, they purposely wrote crap that people would get mad at to troll them instead of writing something good. The series had potential. The series had some good episodes. When it was hot, it was hot. Like when Daredevil showed up, when Wong showed up, when Abomination showed up, when the action was there. But then they literally cut everything that we would have liked out of the finale. There was no battle. It literally, in the middle of the beginning opening sequence, when they started fighting, She-Hulk says, wait, stop, breaks the fourth wall, leaves the show, goes to Marvel headquarters, talks to the Kevin AI bot, says that she doesn't want a battle, she doesn't want anything, blah, blah, blah. She wants something different. She goes back to her show. No battle. They handcuff Abomination. Daredevil shows up. They fuck. And then the show's over. And then Hulk randomly shows his son for like 2 seconds. And that's it. Like literally, there was no action. There was no payoff to anything that we saw. We had the intelligentsia stuff. We had Titania. We had a couple of villains, but just nothing paid off to where it just met up in a strong end that showed some kind of outcome where She-Hulk grew. I mean, the whole premise was she didn't want to become a Hulk. She ended up getting the powers. She was learning how to adapt to them. Overnight, she suddenly was able to control the Hulk rage that took Bruce Banner a whole fucking Infinity War saga to control to become Smart Hulk. She's able to do it overnight. She was able to control her stuff. She was able to react and be living in human society with no danger. And the show quickly became, who is she trying to fuck on Tinder instead of trying to become part of society, trying to become an attorney. It was everything but character development. And I'm on the Marvel Studios Reddit. I see all these people that are in agreement with this writer. Oh, it's supposed to be fourth wall and meta, and if you don't get it, you don't understand, and ha ha, and blah blah blah. No, dude, the show was trash. This was the worst Marvel show, in my opinion, and it's scary. This goes on to say the creators say She-Hulk was aimed at toxic fanboys who love Marvel comics and the movies. The creators first showed their hand in episode 3 with a whole montage focused on a bunch of guys saying she's too derivative of an emasculated Hulk or debating whether or not she was bangable. The show also have had explicitly pro-feminist messaging since the first episode as Jen navigates the double standards for female superheroes, but she tried to compare her suffering the male gaze with Bruce Banner suffering the loss of everything, so she deserved to be angrier than him or something. Yeah, that was one fucking weird thing when they're like trying to meditate. She's like, I'm always angry because I get catcalled and men want to hit on me. And, you know, like Bruce Banner's over here saying he had to sacrifice his life. Like he couldn't have a love relationship with Jennifer Connelly's character or even Black Widow because he was too much of a danger. Like he literally had to be a hermit and exile himself. But fucking She-Hulk's problem is that she doesn't want to be catcalled. Like, what the fuck? like, oh my god. It just doesn't make sense. It literally fucking just took everything that Bruce Banner was and threw him in like a trash bin just for the fuck of it. So, here we go. This goes on to talk about the lead actress who played She-Hulk, Tatiana Maslany, who was on board with trolling the fans, saying it was fine with her to really give them something to complain about with the series. So she said, I sort of anticipated it. It's why I also feel it's important. There's such an entitlement space held by certain people, and to even exist as a She-Hulk is like a fuck you, and I love that. Like, this is a way to really alienate your fan base, to target them, to basically be like, no, I'm purposely gonna be part of something that's intent is to make all the fanboys feel like crap. Like they were going in being spiteful instead of making something that could be groundbreaking for a brand new character. So it's just a whole bunch of mess. Now, this is showing where it stacks up against other series at Disney Plus, and I actually am kind of surprised that Falcon and Winter Soldier did so low with the critics on Rotten Tomatoes. 84% critics, 83% audiences. So this is ranking for Rotten Tomatoes. Falcon and the Winter Soldier is the worst rated for the critics. She-Hulk is second worst rated. Moon Knight, third worst rated. So 86% for She-Hulk, 84% for Falcon and Winter Soldier. That's still 80% plus. But I feel Falcon and the Winter Soldier should have personally been up there, in my opinion. I thought it was great. Had a lot of character development. I think Sebastian Stan did wonderful. I think it had just a perfect amount of action. I could have did without the weird Antifa wannabe group that was in it. But anyways, regardless of which, this is the second worst critic reviewed show and overall worst among the audience. It has a 35% audience rating. Even Miss Marvel, which I have no fucking idea why Miss Marvel was 97% critic, 80% audience. I thought that show was worse than She-Hulk, almost. So this says, which group is more important to please? Supporters of the show will blame a low audience score on review bombing, but why didn't the trolls review bomb the number one critical darling, Miss Marvel? And everyone knows that review bombing works both ways. If Twitter can be infested with programmable bots, it's a safe bet you can do the same thing on Rotten Tomatoes, posting 5-star reviews. So yeah, just going on about this, I thought this article was very interesting and pointing out the Variety interview that basically they said they had no intent on doing anything but purposely writing the show to make people that would hate it. Like, imagine writing a book or making a video game and saying, or a movie, I'm going to make this purposely bad so the people that will hate it. And oh my God. What a fucking waste of time. Like, that season finale, I watched it and I was like, what was the point of all 9 episodes? I feel like, I don't know, dude. It was a terrible series. And right now, the rumor is there's not going to be a season 2. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised there's not going to be a season 2. Anyways, let me know your thoughts, guys. What a fucking failure, in my opinion. I'll see you next time.